Oops. Oh crap. Let me just fight this guy. So another thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the overworld because it is very, very similar to A Link to the Past. I thought, like, I really liked the overworld from A Link to the Past. So obviously for me, the overworld being like it was a good thing. And but that's not all. It's like not only is the overworld very, very similar to A Link to the Past, which I like, it's also like it incorporates things that you would do in dungeons, which I don't think has ever been done in a Zelda game before. Like, there are instances when you need to use the hookshot, for example, to get to a treasure or a heart piece that's in the overworld. And that rarely has ever happened, if has ever happened in a Zelda game before. I don't think there's ever been an instance I've had to use my hookshot in the overworld of another Zelda. And that's actually one of the most common weapons you had to use to get to treasures in the overworld. You know, I mean, and I feel like that is definitely a very, very fun thing to discover and to use. That, like, you're not just getting these weapons to use in dungeons. These weapons can actually be used in, like, your just normal play. Like, just exploring and discovering these weapons can actually be used. Another thing about the weapons is you have this ability to upgrade the weapons as you find things, and I thought that was really, really a good idea. So, like, for example, the one that I noticed the most was the fire rod. This fire rod is upgraded, and so it is extremely powerful. And before, it would emit something like this. So this is my lamp, and before the fire rod would do something like that, except for the flame would come down, much like you're about to see in this next weapon that I show you, which is the upgraded fire rod, which instead of a flame that size going down the screen, it is, it is a huge tornado of flames going down the side of the screen. And I thought that was an extremely worthwhile upgrade, and it makes you want to really work hard to upgrade your weapons. You know, another thing is, this is, I think, the first time they've ever done this in a Zelda game, is when you upgrade the bow and arrow. Yeah, I know that's the bow and arrow. Oh, when you upgrade the bow and arrow, it shoots 3 arrows out instead of 1. And I thought, although it didn't help much, it was definitely a very cool thing to discover, and it made you want to see what else would happen if you upgraded things. Another thing is the bow, or not the bow and arrow, the boomerang, which if you upgrade it, you can throw up to 3 boomerangs at a time. It's crazy. 3 boomerangs at a time, which means if you're fast enough, which I'm not going to be able to be while filming, because I don't have 2 hands on it, but that means if fast enough, you could actually, yeah, see, I can't do it. You could actually throw a boomerang to multiple sides at the same time. I can't do it with 1 hand. And I can't show it to you with 2 hands because the camera would go nowhere. But, so, I mean, I feel like from that standpoint, it is really worthwhile. Unlike in other games, like, for example, Skyward Sword, where not only was finding things to upgrade your weapons an extremely tedious and upsetting, not really upsetting, but like boring task. Not only is this a fun task because it makes you use knowledge and sometimes your weapons to find the things, it's really worthwhile. Like, the weapons are actually upgraded and you can actually feel it in your everyday battle. And so that's something I think they really, really, really did well as well. Which I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the bosses for a second and say that I really thought that the boss battles were unique. And I really, really, really liked the boss battles and how, like, they were different. Besides 2, there were 2 bosses that were the same. 3 if you count the final boss battle. But that's pretty much the same for every Zelda game, so you can't really count that against them. There was only 2 other bosses that have ever been seen before in a Zelda game, and there was, how many bosses were there? There were 10 bosses, so that's 8 new bosses, and all of the bosses brought pretty much completely new mechanics to the game, and well, like, one thing I've always wanted to see them incorporate was you have to use multiple weapons to beat a boss. Usually all you have to use is the weapon that you would find in that dungeon, or the weapons that are required for that dungeon in this game, because you don't find weapons in this game, but there are required weapons to go into dungeons that you have to buy from this shop over here. And so, like, the only thing I would like to see different is bosses requiring more than one weapon to be beaten. And you do see that in the final boss battle. Spoilers, for people who are planning to play and haven't. I probably should have warned that. But I really, I'd like to see that, and I really, besides that, I really like the boss battles. And so I guess that brings it to my overall rating. I think I've covered everything. Besides, just one last thing. There are miscellaneous items hidden throughout this entire map. Like, you can see these are Waimos, or I don't know how you pronounce it, because once again, it's that Japanese thing. So, like, there are things hidden all around the map, and there's heart pieces, which don't actually get shown, although I have marked where certain things are that I actually can't get to right now, that I have to go back and take a closer look at later. So, I feel like there's a good variety of things hidden, and I feel like that, I feel like there's, like, enough of them are hard enough to find that you actually want to take some time and figure it out. Like instead of them all being easy, or them